Let's move on to our main story tonight, the Oakland Raiders. The answer to the question, what if Sadness started a football team and hired a Corona salesman to coach it? This is the worst Raiders season I can remember, and I'm including every season of Room Raiders, a show where strangers would rummage through your things before taking you on a date, or as our parents called it, stalking. After their loss to the Chargers on Sunday, the Raiders fell to 1-8 on the season, but it was the week before that when they lost a quintessential Thursday night matchup against the also very bad 49ers by 31 points that the team hit rock bottom.
We're watching this thing crash and burn like right in front of us.
Just lose, baby. Just lose, baby. That's the new motto, Skip Bayless.
I kept looking at the Raiders to see if there were signs of having quit. And there are 49ers players that were quoted as being on the field with them thinking, oh, yeah, they quit and they quit early. In real time, it was the worst I've ever seen the Raiders look in my entire life.
Wilbon is right here, although he was wrong when he decided to walk into a Men's Warehouse and ask for the works. The Raiders have the worst record in the NFL, the worst point differential, and the worst haircut on an owner. I'll be honest, that one upsets me the most because that is a choice. The Raiders were 6-10 last season, 12-4 2 years ago, and now they realistically might not win another game this season. They haven't scored a touchdown in 9 quarters. That's like 2 more quarters than Mark Davis pays for that haircut. How could a team with so much promise fall apart this quickly?
John Gruden, the new head coach of the Raiders, and the terms just in, courtesy of our Adam Schefter. How about this? 10 years, likely worth nearly $100 million. It is the longest initial coaching contract in NFL history.
The Oakland Raiders expected to trade Raiders defensive end Khalil Mack to the Chicago Bears.
The Raiders plan to trade wide receiver Amari Cooper to the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, yeah, I guess when you put it all together like that, that does add up. You can't just let your best players go and expect to win. You're not the Patriots. But this is kind of a good news, bad news situation for Raiders fans. The bad news is, well, this is your team. But the good news is, pretty soon, they won't be your problem anymore.
Breaking news out of Phoenix, Arizona. NFL owners have approved the deal to move the Oakland Raiders to Las Vegas.
That's right. Pro sports in Las Vegas, a thing they said could never happen. There were too many vices for players to succumb to. The gambling, the partying, the Celine Dion shows. Pro teams would never take the risk. Even local sports fans in Vegas were sure of it.
Well, football's never come.
Why can't you try football first?
NFL hates Vegas. They hate us. They are so against us. There's no way. I'll put money on it now. NFL will never come to Vegas.
It feels like definitely the first time that guy's ever lost money. But pro sports in Vegas? Yeah, right. What's next? Legalize gambling outside of Nevada? Lady doctors? But then, of course, it did happen.
The Board of Governors approved the plan of expansion that will bring a National Hockey League franchise to Las Vegas, beginning with the 2017-18 season.
Of course, all it took was a man named Batman. The hero we deserve. The Vegas Golden Knights arrived, and they were a huge success, becoming the second expansion team since 1960 in any of the 4 major sports to reach the championship round in their inaugural season. But they weren't just successful on the ice. Everything about that team was a huge hit with fans. Their official Twitter account was an instant hit. Everybody loved it and actually loved it. It wasn't bad. They did this medieval time style thing where a knight on skates would cut a cartoon jet in half, because knights do that. And they had local celebrities like Wayne Newton crank a siren before games. He was doing that outside the stadium. They're like, Wayne, you want to come in? It felt like they always found these ways to embrace their Vegasness. And as the Raiders prepare for their big move, it would be smart for them to learn from what the Golden Knights did. Of course, the Golden Knights were a brand new team. The Raiders are not, despite how they look on the field. They're relocating, and sure, they have done that before, but the last time they did it was in 1995, so they would be wise to also learn from a team who did it more recently.
For the first time since 1994, the Rams are going back to Cali, kind of like Biggie Smalls, if you will. But should the LA Rams 2.0 change their uniforms?
But nowadays, because there's so much retailing and merchandising and licensed products and all that, you have a big lead time, and it usually takes a good 2 years to get a new uniform into the pipeline.
They don't like their base uniforms. They won't unveil their new ones until they're into their new stadium. They'd like to wear their throwbacks. As a result, just kind of squint over the next couple of years when the Rams are wearing their base uniforms.
He's kidding, but that actually does work. Jeff Fisher squints when he watches the games and pretends he coaches a good Rams team. The Rams got stuck in this weird uniform purgatory where they looked like they packed their bag on game day in the dark. And that's partly because the rebrand was supposed to coincide with the opening of their new stadium, which got pushed back a year. But it's also partly because they didn't start the process of overhauling their uniforms until they got to LA in 2016. You've got to plan ahead for these things. So, okay, the Raiders can learn from the Golden Knights, the LA Rams. What about that other team that just relocated to LA?
The San Diego Chargers will now be the LA Chargers as they are making the move official.
I think it is accurate to say it has been a failure so far.
And seat license sales for when they move into a new stadium in Inglewood are struggling as well. The Chargers expected revenues of $400 million a year. Wickersham reports they're going to revise that number down to $150 million.
Look, if you wanted to squander $300 million in Hollywood, at least give us Waterworld 2. We've all been waiting for it. The Chargers pissed off their fan base by moving, which is to be expected, but then completely overestimated how much a new fan base would embrace them. They're like that one friend that we all have who breaks up with someone who's pretty damn great just because their other friend just got out of a relationship and is loving it, and then they hit the market and realize, oh, that's right, their other friend looks good now, and they are Phillip Rivers. The point is, the Raiders can learn a valuable lesson from each of these three teams before their big move. The lesson from the Golden Knights, embrace Las Vegas. From the Rams, prepare to rebrand. And from the Chargers, attract a passionate fan base. That probably sounds like a long list of stuff to do, especially for a team that has such an already long list of stuff to do. But that's why I'm gonna help. I've got ideas. You may think I'm not qualified for that, but what if I told you I also drink Corona? Huh? Okay, so let's start with embracing Vegas. It's a wild place. You've got to foster that energy. Let some of it spill into the stadium. One way to do that, a mascot. Now, ideally, you would go with something that sums up Vegas. Fun, a little scary, but like in a thrilling way, and full of drugs and alcohol. But unfortunately, that's taken. The Golden Knights have two mascots, a knight and a Gila monster. So not super Vegas-y at first, but then you realize they are an odd pairing of a guy and a character who doesn't talk, so it actually fits quite well. That's right, Penn and Teller jokes here in the year of our Lord 2018. Here's my plan. Treasure Island, they used to have a pirate show, but they got rid of it a few years ago, which means we've got an abundance of out-of-work pirates wandering the strip. And I bet they would love the opportunity, so boom, that's done. You're also going to want a second mascot, one that you're actually comfortable handing small children to. The Golden Knights have a random yellow monster, so let's go with Vampire Banana. Who gives a mascot, check. Another thing that will help you bring Vegas into your games is music. The city has timeless crooners like Donnie and Marie, legends like Britney Spears, and those sound expensive. So how about Imagine Dragons? They're from Vegas, you know, and sports and Imagine Dragons go together like Pete Davidson and Ariana Grande. What? It's that they like, at first you're like, huh? And then you're like, I get it. And then once you accept it, nope, it's over. Although, you know, the Knights were up 1-0 in the Stanley Cup final before they had Imagine Dragons perform on the ice. And then they lost the next 4 games. but I don't know. I would need to see some more evidence before writing them off entirely as a jinx.
Wailing in there. Up, like you said,
right.
Connell's going into it.
He's going full out now.
Oh,
He caught him. He's down.
Yeah, okay, that does do it. How about the Killers? They're from Vegas. Yeah, we'll go with the Killers. Next up, let's talk about the rebrand. I know you have a pretty awesome logo already, and it does allow your fans to dress up like this. But I feel like this might freak someone out if that someone happens to be on psychedelics. So let's workshop some new ones. You know, you could change your team name entirely. You've been the LA Raiders, the Oakland Raiders. Do you really want to be the Raiders of a third city? It makes more sense to do what most people do when they move to Vegas to avoid their problems. Change your name. And the bill collectors can't find you. Plus, you know, I looked it up, and the name doesn't really mean anything to the team. They just picked it, so let's just pick a new one. What about the Vegas Villains? Huh? No, it's a great fit for a number of reasons. Villains do things like, you know, abandon the people who love them. Steal from the poor to make themselves richer. And of course, murder. But if that's too much for you, that's fine. We can just make a minor adjustment to the current logo. You can stay the Raiders. We'll just make your logo more Vegas-y. Like what if we took that eye patch there and turned it into sunglasses? It's perfect for wearing by the pool at Hard Rock or on the dance floor at Tao to let everyone know you definitely have Molly if anyone needs. So that's your rebrand. Lastly, we gotta get you a passionate, engaged fan base in your new city. One thing that a lot of teams have is a celebrity fan. One really famous person that everyone associates with that team. Spike Lee with the Knicks, Jack Nicholson with the Lakers, Drake with the Raptors, Drake with the Sixers, Drake with the Warriors, et cetera, you get it. It makes fans feel like rooting for the team is cool, like, oh look, a rich person's doing it. I compiled a long list of celebrities who would be a good fit, and I've narrowed it down to two. Wayne Newton and Jimmy Kimmel. Wayne Newton is the obvious choice. I mean, come on, what is more Vegas than that? But we did mention before that he already does stuff with the Golden Knights, and I don't want people getting the teams confused. The Raiders deserve their own celebrity fan. Now, Jimmy Kimmel is from Las Vegas. People forget. He's funny, and he has a ton of friends who like sports. He needs a team of his own. It's kind of a perfect fit to have it be Jimmy Kimmel. I actually reached out to both of these guys to see if they would be interested, thinking obviously there's no way they would ever get back to me. But then right before we started the show, one of them did.
Katie, the choice is obvious. I should be the celebrity ambassador for the Las Vegas Raiders. Jimmy Kimmel, are you kidding me? I mean, that clown had to leave Vegas to become famous. The only time he comes back is when I let him. I am Mr. Las Vegas, baby. And when you think of Vegas, you think of Wayne Newton, not Jimmy No Talent Kimmel. Go Raiders!
Wow. Yeah, you're welcome, Raiders. Sounds like Wayne Newton is your new celebrity fan. If you need to get in touch with him, you can find him performing at Caesars Las Vegas in the new year. Your move, Jimmy Kimmel.
For more, sign up now for ESPN Plus.